when you are not sure or when you're not satisfied with what or the result you're getting from the system, please don't okay it. Don't submit it. Raise alarm and shout. At that point, obtain help. It's better for you to even leave it uncompleted than to complete it and seek for help. So please, where you have such challenge, don't say, okay, I am begging you.
Remember, don't press OK until you are.
That was at a sensitization workshop on TaxPro Max. You are in for an exciting time on today's episode of Tax Matters. One of the activities that the FRS takes seriously in pursuit of its mandate is constant and robust collaboration with stakeholders. Yet another one is a genuine dedication to running a taxpayer-focused tax administration system. And so, from time to time, the field offices spread around the nooks and crannies of Nigeria hold sensitization sessions with taxpayers, the advisors, the banks, etc., etc. On Tuesday, the 19th of September 2023, the Lagos Mainland West region of the FRS held one such sensitization workshop. It was well attended. This episode of Tax Matters will be wholly devoted to tax education, and so we are going to be sharing with you what transpired at the sensitization program and much more. It's going to be tax education all the way. What is the rate of NIDDA levy in Nigeria? GSM service providers and all telecommunication companies, cyber companies and internet providers, pension managers and pension-related companies, banks and other financial institutions and insurance companies with an annual turnover of 100 million naira and above are liable to NIDDA levy at the rate of 1% of their profit before tax. Welcome once again. Now to the story of the workshop. Kickstarting the event, Mrs. Toluwalashe Akpomedai, the state coordinator, Lagos Mainland West of the FRS, began her welcome address by painting the picture of the current state of tax administration in Nigeria, an administration driven by technology.
Today's sensitization program is designed in a way to afford us the opportunity to know the recent innovations introduced by the FRS management in making things easy for taxpayers to file, pay taxes due, and obtain tax clearance certificates without stress, and also allow tax clearance certificates issued with little human interference. I'm sure you can say it categorically that you don't really need to come to our offices to get your TCC issued. From the comfort of your rooms or offices, you can get your tax clearance certificate. At this meeting, we want you to give us your own input so that we can improve on our services.
On hand to grace the occasion was Alhaja Sadatu Yero, Director Taxpayer Service Department at the FRS headquarters, Abuja.
The role Federal Inland Revenue Service plays in the economic growth and development of our nation cannot be overemphasized. As the revenue from crude oil is constantly nosediving, hence the only sustainable source of revenue to government today is revenue from taxes. It is imperative to note that Federal Inland Revenue Service contribution to FAC account for more than 70% of the total revenue distributed to the various tiers of government.
And this peep into the future.
The service, through various reforms, has increased the country tax ratio to GDP from 6% to 10.86% in 2022. The management is committed to improve the country's tax to GDP ratio to 16.5%, which is the African average, and subsequently 18% in the next 3 years through our various fiscal reforms.
Two papers were delivered at the sensitization program. The first paper, which was on the Finance Act as an innovation to the Nigerian tax system, was delivered by Mr. Orebajo, who recently retired as a director in charge of tax policy and advisory services at the FRS.
So let us look at the journey so far. Before 2019, for many years, the tax laws did not change. But I can trace it up to 1998. From 1998 up to 2019, the tax laws relatively did not change. Prior to 1998 or up to 1999 January, every year when the budget is announced by the head of state, the head of state will also announce some changes to the tax laws, which will come in form of decree. And it is those decrees that we use to change what was in the law. But by 1999, there was a gap, there was a break, up to 2019. And I say this with the constant proddings of FRS. So in 2019, we now had the 2019 Finance Act. That was the very first Finance Act where in this new era. And we changed, there were 6 tax laws that were changed. So many sections of the law were changed. Then 1 non-tax law. So we had about 56 sections of the laws in total. Then in 2020, we had 6 tax laws. The number of non-tax laws, 10. Total number of sections, 80. But I want to tell you, the number of non-tax laws that were changed in 2020 was high because some of these laws were relevant to taxation issues. And they were changed at the instigation of FRS. Finance Act 2021, we had 6 tax laws, 7 non-tax laws, and 41 sections. Finance Act 2023 was enacted this year. That's the journey so far. What are the objectives of the Finance Act? Basically, we want to raise revenue for government. We want to promote fiscal equity. What do we mean by fiscal equity? That the quantum Mr. A is paying or X company is paying as taxes relative to his income, it will be the same as the quantum company Y is also paying as taxes relative to its income or its capacity. The third is to reform the domestic tax laws to align with international best practices. Unfortunately, many of our laws are outdated. And you ask me, why do we need to align them? Everyone knows the world is a global village. Then we have the national tax policy, which is always revised like every 8 to 10 years. And in this national tax policy, there are broad policy guidelines of the direction the country is going with regards to taxes. So, what this Finance Act does is to have a gradual implementation of what the national tax policy contains. Then, another objective is to simplify the tax laws. Those of us who practice tax about 20 years and above will know that there were so many complex issues in the tax laws that have now been gradually simplified or demystified. Then we want to plug loopholes in tax legislations. Taxpayers will always take advantage of loopholes in tax laws. No matter how good you enact a law, some people will always sit in a corner and they'll be paid highly to look at that law and decode it and see where they can walk around it. And it's not their fault. It's the nature of life. Water will always find its level. If you put something to block water, water will go around it, and the same thing with taxpayers. So every year they will get loopholes. Every year the tax administrators will also come and try and block the loopholes.
Needless to say that since 2019, the yearly Finance Acts have had positive impact on tax administration in Nigeria. Mr. Orebajo's presentation was followed by an exciting question and answer session.
I'm a very busy man. My business involves a lot of traveling and I interface with lots and lots of people and organizations. Tax compliance used to be a big drag on my business. It was time consuming and very costly. But now, no more. Introducing the FIRS TaxPro Max, the truly fully end-to-end tax administration solution for companies' income tax, value-added tax, petroleum profits tax, and all other tax types. For fast, efficient, and convenient end-to-end tax experience, log on to www.taxpromax.firs.gov.ng. TaxPro Max has turned things around for me. It is fast, user-friendly, and cost-effective. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC.
We have a document known as the Modernization Plan that documents how FIRS intends to improve its services to end users. And this is a holistic plan. We are looking at the human resources, looking at the processes. We're also looking at the deployment of technology. So we are looking at deploying all the latest technological tools that will enable us to do much better, to perform better. And you can see that this is already yielding results. And the vanguard of that automation process is our TaxPro Max, which is our application that the taxpayers use to file their returns, to request for their tax clearance certificate, to print out their receipts and withholding credit notes. So what it means now is that taxpayers can carry out all their tax affairs at the comfort of their homes without coming to FIRS. So that has improved the ease of doing business, the ease of compliance, and this is also showing up in our collections.
Yes, TaxPro Max, the game changer. Still on the sensitization workshop hosted by the Lagos Mainland West region of the FIRS. The second paper delivered at the workshop was on recent update on TaxPro Max and was delivered by Mr. Isaac Mbami of the Digital Innovation Support Group at the FIRS. Mr. Mbami began by going down memory lane, tracing matters to the very beginning of the modernization program of the FIRS, which began in the year 2004.
When we talk about innovations, particularly in tax administration, as it regards FIRS, it started with the reform of the service in 2004. Before 2004, those that were part of FIRS, you know that we were 100% on a manual process, whereby whether to register, whether to obtain an assessment, file, or pay, it was done manually. The first one of the digital transformation was the introduction of taxpayer identification number and electronic tax payment. Within that period, all of taxpayer identification numbers were manually kept and issued. You see your RC number, you see your code, that is the code of business operation, then the number or your number. And that process was marred with multiple registration, wrong registration, and errors in classification, including missing files. And as at that period also, we accept cash payments, either by cash or bank draft. And at the end of the day, we take the money to central bank for deposit. But with the introduction of the electronic taxpayer identification number, it was possible that before you obtain a TIN, you must first and foremost be registered on the existing system. Upon registration, you obtain a taxpayer identification number. And once you have a tax identification number, you can go to designated banks and make your payment. And these were the key milestones that were achieved within this phase 1. This process, indeed, birthed the new FIRS and where we are today. Phase 2 saw the introduction of Standard Integrated Government Tax Administration System, which we call SICTAS. SICTAS introduced the Integrated Tax Administration System, ITAS. And within ITAS, it was intended that it will harmonize all of the tax administration processes, core tax administration process, from registration to filing, to assessment, to payment, to reconciliation, to audit and appeals, all of it, including tax refund. And the module, or this solution, was deployed in 2012 in a segmented manner, starting with the large taxpayer segment. And it started first with also enrollment or registration, then with filing of company income tax alone. Payment was not part of it. Reconciliation was not part of it. You only file CIT. And within that period, key achievements were electronic taxpayer registration, electronic filing of company income tax returns at large taxpayer level, then registration of internal and external users. The third phase of the automation and innovation in tax administration is the introduction of the Automated Tax Administration System, ATAS. And this was done in 2019. Within this period, we could see VAT auto-deduct and withholding auto-deduct, deployment of e-stamp duty, deployment of ETCC, and deployment of e-receipt, even though it wasn't online real-time, but we're able to process these receipts, we're able to process TCC and issue them in a semi-manual manner. Then where we are currently is the phase 4, which is the deployment of the TaxPro Max solution. The TaxPro Max solution was built on the existing legacy framework and is an integrated tax administration solution developed in-house, which helped to ease the burden of tax compliance in Nigeria. Its introduction is aimed at minimizing the cost of voluntary compliance and optimizing tax revenue collection with the aid of technology. And the summary of key achievements that we're able to obtain in TaxPro Max is electronic filing / declaration of Naira-denominated tax returns, self-service accounts for both taxpayers and tax administrators, automated assessment and collection of taxes, one-click tax clearance certificate, automated tax ledger or K-card, automated issuance of receipts, automated issuance of tax invoices. And this is where we are currently. Benefits of automation, of automated tax administration system. First and foremost, key number 1 is improved data collection and analysis, that is to the tax administrator. We have ease of compliance and post-compliance activities for both the taxpayer and the tax administrator. We have enhanced service delivery to taxpayers. We have reduced cost of compliance and burden of compliance, reduced revenue leakage, broadening of the tax net and tax base, then high revenue yield, that's to the government.
As our viewers are very well aware, TaxPro Max, the FIRS in-house developed end-to-end tax administration system, has revolutionized tax administration in Nigeria. TaxPro Max became operational in the year 2021 to the delight of taxpayers and tax administrators alike. Little wonder then that Mr. Mbami's presentation was followed by a robust question and answer session, which we are about to share with you. But before then, Permit us to share with you this background. Mrs. Benobi, thank you for joining us on Tax Matters.
Thank you, Amaka.
Could you please give us a rundown as if you are speaking to a first-time taxpayer? How does the TaxPro Max work?
Okay, first, the TaxPro Max is a tax administration system that manages the end-to-end life cycle of a taxpayer, as well as the tax authority in terms of accountability. For you to use the TaxPro Max, you have to first register. And for you to register, you need to download the update form and then complete it and take it to the nearest tax office, whichever tax office that's within your threshold. If you're a small taxpayer, if you're a micro taxpayer, if you're a medium taxpayer, if you're a large taxpayer. So you take it to your nearest tax office, depending on what your business turnover is, and then they will update. If it's a new registration, they will also register you. And that's the only time that you're compulsorily required to go to a tax office for now. We are hoping that we'll automate that process where you do not need to go to the tax office to submit that update form. Now, after that registration, your login details to log into the portal is given to you at that point, where you can then go online to www.firs.gov.ng and then click on the e-business, and then you see the link to TaxPro Max. And then you'll be presented with a login detail where you put your username and the password, which was sent to you by email once you registered in the tax office. Then you can log in and do all the processes that you want to do, depending on what you want to do. So if you're returning your filing, if you want to pay on account, that's all done. And you want to apply for your tax clearance certificates, you can also apply for your tax clearance certificates online. If you want to view your tax account, that's your ledger, you can view to know if all the withholding credits that you had suffered when you were paid, if they had been reported to FIRS and if they're actually on your account. So all of that information, all of that transactions, you can perform on TaxPro Max portal.
Now to the question and answer session.
My client's year end is 30th April. And on the Pro Max, while filing, we discovered that it's 31st December. And now it's showing penalty and interest. What do I do?
Whenever you have a wrong year end, kindly contact the tax office so that your profile will be updated with the correct year end. A lot of taxpayers have this issue, and it does not stem from the taxpayer. Sometimes it's from the taxpayers, but more often than not, it is as a process of onboarding you on the system. A wrong accounting year end has been selected for you. That will affect everything about you. Not just accounting year end, even the line of business selected for you also. Where you are an agricultural company, where you're supposed to enjoy unrestricted capital allowance, and you're classified another thing on the system. When you come to file, the system will restrict your capital allowance, and vice versa. So please, whenever you obtain your login to your tax account on TaxPro, first and foremost, check your registration details. Anywhere that is not consistent with your record or your tax history, get back to the tax office for update immediately.
So my first question is integrating the dollar, withholding on dollar on TaxPro Max. We go to Abuja, apply, send to the tax office in charge, and they tell us that we need to come back, It has to be integrated into the TaxPro Max. My second question goes to pioneer companies, whereby when we file the CIT, we have issues on them having to pay taxes. They are not supposed to pay taxes. So if they have like other income, like interest, gain, and all that, I have issues where I was filing and they had to pay taxes, and which shouldn't be so.
TaxPro Max, Embrace it if you haven't done so. Use it if you have not begun to use it. It will make tax compliance as easy as ABC for you. More from this highly stimulating question and answer session will come to you in a subsequent episode of Tax Matters. And that's what you get every week on this program: information and education on taxation. Let's do it again next week. Same station, same day of the week, same time of the day. Thank you for watching.